Sup, we are going to do a reading on a paradigm shift. We're going to look into a situation going on in your life, how you are perceiving that situation as problematic, and how that situation is actually working in your best interest. So, in an effort to save time, I already picked the oracle cards for each pile. So we have pile 1, the Serpent, pile 2, Fate in reverse, and pile 3, Shelter. If you want to go ahead and pick your pile. Hello, pile 1. If you picked Serpent, this is your reading. So for what is the situation, we obviously pulled the Serpent. For how do you perceive it as problematic, we pulled the Graveyard in reverse. And for how is it actually in your best interest, we pulled the Cave. Okay, so right off the bat, this is a pretty clear message to me. We're gonna go further into it with tarot, but I think in general what's happening right now is you are being asked to do some serious shadow work. You're having some serious shadow work presenting itself, and you are being very stubborn about it. You are, and what I want to say intuitively from this is that with this Graveyard in reverse and the Cave over here, to me, it feels as though you, oh, wow, that's crazy. I cut the deck to shuffle and I got 8 of Swords, which is a prison of your own making, like a mental prison of your own making. That's great. And then on the other side, we've got Queen of Wands. All right, so intuitively, what this already tells me is that you are having shadow work being presented to you, but the way that you're seeing it from an ego lens. You're seeing it from, you don't want to, you're avoiding it because you're taking it as a character flaw. Like the way that it's coming to you is coming to you in such a way that you feel as though it's signifying that you have some sort of character flaw, that you have something wrong with you, but that's not what is actually happening. It's not meant to be pointing out something that you have wrong with you. It's meant to be pointing out areas of stagnancy and ways in which you can work with your shadow, especially with this Cave. Let me pull the book out and actually show you, because each of these cards, I love this Alchemy of the Spirit deck so much. And each card has a little quote from somebody, and this quote for this card, the Cave, is very telling for your situation. Okay, so we've got a Joseph Campbell quote: "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasures you seek." Okay, and this card is a lot about it. Like all 3 of these are about death and rebirth and transformation. Obviously metaphorical death and rebirth. They're all 3 very, I mean, this deck is called Alchemy of the Spirit, so it's all going to be pretty transformation based, but these are very shadow worky. And with the Graveyard in reverse, you know, so we've got rebirth over here for this situation. Unconventionality, nonconformity, rebirth, the Serpent. Okay, and then the Graveyard is literally about a death of something. And a death is always to make way for something new. A death is never actually the end. A death is, you know, part of the transformation. So that's how you're perceiving the situation as problematic. And then we have the Cave over here, which is about entering the painful, dark, confusing cave in order to seek answers. See the light in the cave, symbolizing going into the unknown, going into the confusing is what will end up providing you with answers. So that's why this, and you know, it could not be like, usually the oracle cards give me basics, and then when I go further with the tarot, it's possible that maybe it's not exactly what I thought it was, but so maybe it doesn't have to do with your ego or your perception of self. It could have to do with something else entirely. We'll find out, but regardless, it is about a situation in which you are being asked to do some sort of transformative self-reflection and or reflection about areas of your life. There's something in your life that wants to be worked with and transmuted, and cut out what doesn't serve you at X, Y, and Z, but you aren't doing it because I want to say you are perceiving it as an attack on you, but it's not. It's like you go into the pain and the unknown, and that's where you find clarity and answers. So let's get some tarot for each one to see a little bit further into this situation. If this is resonating and making sense and you dig the vibe and you dig the information, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you want to leave a comment, if you want to yell at me, if you want to tell me your opinions, if you want to tell me your story or whatever you want to do, I don't really care. Go ahead and leave a comment about how this relates to you if you feel like it. Okay, so let's get some clarifiers on the situation at hand. The Serpent. Broadly, what is the situation? Whoop, here we go. Ooh, Ten of Pentacles. Legacy, interesting. Can we get, what the, all right, let's just go ahead and do this. Because it just decided it was gonna, before I even shuffled, it was just gonna pop right out. Ace of Swords, that's a cool. Anything else for the situation? For the situation. The situation. Anything else? This, oh my god. This is gonna be a good reading because these are my, actually, these are my 3 favorite decks that I own. I literally buried this one in the ground, and then it rained, and then I took it out, and I literally freaking laid them all out separately and individually. So I just had 78 cards laying on a towel around my home for days, and then I put them all under books to make them kind of straight again. So it's like really magical. And then this is just magical. Just this deck is magical because it is, just because I love it. And I'm finding that this one is too. Anyway, so you got King of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles, Ace of Swords. The situation that you're going through currently, right now, is that like you are being given an opportunity to like with this transformational period that you're being given access to, it is intended for you to get some sort of clarity about your past, your literal legacy, your literal path to what it is that you're building, your foundations, you know. And this it's probably going to be materially based because we have 2 pentacles right here. It could be a career, it could be literally wherever you want to set down your roots, it could be, you know, family, whatever it is, whatever foundation you are trying to build currently. This situation presenting itself is literally to give you clarity on how to get there. Okay, so that's the broad situation. Is this shadow work is coming to you, it's presenting itself to you, not to hurt you, not to attack you, but to give you clarity and insight into how to build your strong foundations. How are you perceiving it as problematic? Let's find that out. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. Okay. Ace of Wands. Oh my god. This deck is crazy. So let me see. Which one is it? Which one is it? Which one is it? I feel like it's this one. Knight of Cups in reverse. And how are you perceiving it as problematic? this one. The Magician. This is so interesting. Okay, the immediate thing that wanted to scream out to me is that with the Magician is that you want to be in control and you feel out of control in this situation, because when this kind of stuff presents itself to you, and you know, in my opinion, when this kind of stuff presents itself to you, when shadow work presents itself to you, when an opportunity to self-reflect presents itself to you, it could be from several sources. It could be from your spirit guides. It could be from, well, it has to be like your higher self has to agree with it. Okay. Nothing's going to happen to you that your higher self doesn't agree with, really. So, or that you and your higher, like either you and or your higher self have to agree, but like your higher self's the ultimate veto, right? So, when this kind of stuff presents itself to you, it feels like it's coming from an outside source, even though your higher self really has to agree with the situation in order for it to happen. So it feels like you have no control. It feels like an attack. It feels like you are being asked to surrender in some way. Okay? But that's not what it is. Like, literally, just because your human embodied self doesn't fully understand does not mean that it's an attack on you. It is ultimately for your highest good. It's to bring you clarity. You feel the situation is problematic because you feel like it puts you out of control. You feel like, yeah, with this Knight of Cups, I want to say you feel like you are being emotionally attacked in some way. Yeah, and there's also an element with the mix of these, with the Magician, with the Ace of Wands in reverse, and with the Knight of Cups in reverse. I want to say there is an element of this where, and with the Graveyard in reverse, where you are resistant to this offering of self-reflection, clarity, understanding in order to build back stronger. You're resistant to it and you find it problematic because you feel like it's slowing you down. You feel like it's taking you off your path. You feel like it's making you stagnant, but it's actually not making you stagnant. It's actually, in the long run, going to speed the process up. I mean, now I'm giving you my opinion, but that's probably what this is going to say over here. So my opinion, what I think we're going to figure out is that you find it problematic because you feel as though it's going to slow you down and take you, like, distract you from your path, but it's actually lighting the way further. It's revealing areas that are holding you back rather than holding you back. Like, the opportunity itself is not holding you back. It's revealing the areas that are holding you back. Okay, so then let's go ahead and look, and it's probably going to say something like that based upon the cave for this aspect, which this aspect of it is, how is it intended to help you, to further you? Okay, that was really aggressive. Okay. Oh, and look what fell on the ground. What do you know? This is so cute that I want it to be. Okay. How is this actually helping you? How is this actually out for your best interest? Okay. Ooh, and they hit us with the Four of Swords. Yeah, so like you're being essentially okay, the Four of Swords is rest, but it's not just rest. It's rest to integrate everything that you've learned. Integrate the lessons. It's specifically rest to self-reflect and integrate the lessons. So it's possible that this period that you're entering, and then with this like Four of Wands and the Star in reverse, what I'm getting from just this whole thing is that like this period might not so much be about you doing more shadow work, more self-reflection, more transformation. It might be that the transformation is done and you're in like the integration phase. It's time for you to like chill out for a moment and allow the lessons to make themselves known to you so that you have clarity, so that you have understanding, so that you can move forward with clarity and understanding and build your foundations of whatever it is that you're moving into. And you feel as though it's problematic because you feel as though it's stopping you, it's hindering you, but it's actually a necessary period of rest, of chill, of integration. It's necessary for you to chill out, and you feel as though it's stopping you, but it's not stopping you. This chill out period is, and you know, there's something I've been thinking about a lot lately that like, so we have conscious work that we do, and then we have unconscious work that we do. And the unconscious work that we do is so deeply important. And it's like, there's so much work that gets done at an unconscious level, and we don't know. Like, have you ever went through a situation and you just like, essentially you were like, you know what? I don't even know what to make of this situation. I'm going to put a pin in it and come back to it. But then you notice after a few days or a few weeks or a few months or however long, you just notice like, oh, this issue is now resolved. Like, my behavior naturally changes. And it's because you had already done all of the conscious work you had to do, and your unconscious was then just integrating what you learned from the conscious work. So like the unconscious actually is then like, it needs time and space to reflect so that it can integrate the lessons. So I feel, to summarize this, to put a cap on it, because I feel like that's pretty much the entire message for you. The situation you're in is that you have done a lot of shadow work. And it's actually funny because this says rebirth. It doesn't say death and rebirth. It doesn't say transformation. It says rebirth. And then we have the Star in reverse over here. And we have the Graveyard in reverse, meaning you're not letting a situation die. And we've got the Four of Swords in reverse. Like, it all tells me that, so the situation is that you have went through an intense period of transformation, and you're essentially being given the goal of the situation that you're in right now is to bring forth clarity so that you can continue to build your foundations of whatever it is, the rebirth, whatever your rebirth is. The reason you find it problematic is because you feel like slowing down is hindering you. Slowing down is stopping you. Slowing down is taking you off your path. Slowing down makes you feel out of control. The reason it is actually working in your best interest is because slowing down will, and just allowing this time of uncertainty, this time of unknown, will let the unconscious do the work it needs to do and naturally bring you to the place you need to go. But you have to just believe, like with the Star in reverse, you have to just believe that that's what's going to happen. You got to have a little more faith that it's going to take you to the Four of Wands, okay? Four of Swords is going to take you to Four of Wands. So allowing yourself to slow down, chill, let your unconscious do what it wants to do. Whatever pops up, let it pop up. And, you know, go into the cave, the dark cave, and it will eventually bring you clarity if you just chill out and, you know, let your unconscious do its thing. Okay, I hope that made sense. I hope this was helpful to you. That's pretty much all I have for you. Thank you so much, Pile 1. See you later. Hello, Pile 2. If you pull or you picked Fate in reverse, this is your reading. I just want to read these really quick. Alignment, decisive moments, and opportunistic events. Okay. So this one was interesting when I picked the oracle cards. So for the situation, we have fate in reverse. For why you feel the situation is problematic, we have angel. And for why it's actually out for your best interest, we have elephant. Okay. So off the rip, I feel as though you're in a situation where you are, I want to say it's like I don't want to sit here and say you don't have control, you don't have autonomy, because again, at the end of the day, I just said this in the last one, I feel as though it's my personal perspective that regardless, your higher self is an ultimate veto of anything. So while you might not agree with your higher self has to be the one to like nothing's gonna happen that your higher self is like, no, that is definitely destructive to me. So it's not that you're out of control, but it feels like there are divine forces working their will in your life and you find it problematic. And what's interesting with the elephant card is that it has to do with forgiving yourself, I want to say. Yeah, the elephant has to do with forgiving yourself for past mistakes or what you perceive as past mistakes. So, you know, if the situation has to do, like we got fate in reverse and why you think it's problematic, angel. Okay, so a situation of divine forces at play, like think Wheel of Fortune, think the forces of nature, think divine forces out of your control at play, and you find it problematic. That's what I'm picking up on. And then for why it's actually out for your best interest, we have a card that talks about forgiving yourself. That's interesting. And before I speak on anything else of what I think about it, I feel like we should just go ahead and dig into the tarot cards. So if that resonates and you're digging this, feel free to like and subscribe. Also, if you have anything you want to say about this reading, feel free to leave it down below. Okay, so let's get more information. Well, that was aggressive about the situation. Three of Swords. Interesting. And just for kicks, let's go ahead and... yeah, Ace of Pentacles and reverse. Interesting. Okay. About this situation. Okay. Yeah, the situation is that you feel like you missed out on something, but missing out on it was actually in your best interest in some way. You feel like you, yeah. How do I want to say this? Because I'm picking up on it, but it's like, because this is about, you know, this is like the heartbreak card or whatever, but it's swords. So it's definitely like something hurt your feelings. Something hurt your it hurt your perception of self. It's not just feelings. It's like it hurt your feelings because it hurt like your perception of self. You know what I mean? Like it mentally hurt your feelings. It's not like, oh, something happened that I didn't like. It's like, oh, something happened that made me feel bad about myself mentally. Okay. So it's like something happened. It's that like I'm thinking of an example, and this doesn't have to be an example, but it's like if somebody was mean to you that you thought of as a friend or something like that, and you feel like your feelings are really hurt and you're heartbroken because that friend was mean to you or said something bad about you. The friend said something bad about you, and you feel like you are missing out because the friend said something bad about you, and you had to like, you know, you guys had a fight and you had a falling out, and you feel like, oh my God, I just lost a friend. I'm so sad. That's so hurtful. But actually, it's not. In truth, like the higher perspective is that you didn't miss out. You were brought clarity. That's like the example I'm thinking of, and that's such a specific example, but that's like kind of the vibes here. Is that if something happened that hurt your sense of self, and you had to make adjustments, or they're like the divine forces that be cut something out of your life because of the way that it was affecting you, and you feel like now you're missing out, but you're not missing out. You were brought clarity of the situation, because if something is negatively impacting your sense of self, it is not missing out to lose that thing. It's actually like knowing about the thing that is negatively impacting your sense of self is not, you're not like missing out because of that. It's actually just making it clear what belongs in your life and what doesn't. Okay, so that is what the situation is. How do you perceive it as problematic? And with this angel here, I'm gonna say like, yeah, how you perceive it as problematic. Huh. That's quite interesting. How do you perceive it as problematic? Well, this just wanted to fucking... How do you perceive it as problematic? How do you perceive it as problematic? Actually, yeah. How do you perceive it as problematic? Oh. Yeah, because oh, the spirit homies came in and they fucking took someone out of your life, dude. That's what it is. They cut someone off for you. How do you perceive it as... Well, damn. Hold on. These cards just yelled at me. How do you perceive it as problematic? Oh. How do you perceive it as problematic? Like, I feel like I don't even need another one because that is so straightforward, but hold on. How do they perceive it as problematic? Now, like, doing this in front of the camera, I do this because my brain, like, it feels like I'm, like, tapping it to figure out what the right energy is. And I wonder if, like, whoever's watching me do it is like, that was the wrong one. I wanted you to pick the other one. Because if I were doing it for a person in person, that's what I would do. I would have them pick, like, if, like, a few cards popped out, I would be, and I do, this is what I do. I go, like, all right, well, which one calls out to you? Like, if a few popped out, you know what I mean? Anyway, so the way that it's problematic for you, that you think it's problematic, is because you didn't want that person cut out of your life. You wanted to heal. You wanted to work on the relationship. You wanted to keep going. You wanted to figure it out. You wanted to work on the relationship, but Spirit said, nah. Which means more than likely your higher self said, nah. Your higher self said, not today. Somebody got cut out of your life, okay? And you find it problematic because I hope this is offering you some solace. Like, I am a very direct person, so I'm not trying to be insensitive when I say this, but I hope that it provides you with validation and clarification that I'm saying this. If somebody, you know, like ghosted you, or like, you know, something happened to where the forces that be that are looking out for you, because this angel card talks about protection too. Like, it really strongly talks about protection. Obviously it's an angel, but not that angels are the only entities that protect, but they're heavily known for that. Like, symbolically heavily known for that. But anyway, yeah, I feel as though you did not want a certain relationship to end, and essentially the beings that guide you and protect you were like, nah, enough of that. And probably your higher self, honestly, because if it's happening, it's probably your higher self that's like, nah, we're done with that. You thought there was a chance to save it, and they're saying no, there was no chance to save it. It's only getting in your way. Okay, so let's find out more about how this situation is in your best interest. How it's actually in your best interest. We've got the Elephant over here, and the Elephant talks about forgiving yourself for past actions. And looking at the middle cards, I want to say that there's a possibility, especially with like the Ace of Pentacles in reverse and the Three of Swords, that you are blaming yourself more than you should. That you are blaming yourself for these relationship problems. Whoa. Okay. Hold on. Okay. How is it actually out for their best interests? Queen of Cups. Oh my God. How is it actually out for their best interests? She came out strong. Strength, the Lion. And it's just a hot cosmic ether lady screaming into the cosmic void. How's this actually out for your best interest? This wanted to come out earlier too, but it wanted to come out this way. So instead of this way, I just picked it up from the ground and it was reversed. But when I wanted to come out earlier, it was this way. So let me do this one more time. I don't fucking know. We're going to say this is sideways. That's what I do sometimes when it's like Three of Cups sideways. And I interpret sideways as like your choice, dealer's choice. Do you want it upright or do you want it reversed? Like, it's still up for debate. The reason that this is for your best interest is because it's, first of all, it's time for you to rediscover yourself. It's time for you to there's like a bit of a codependent energy here where you're like basing your self-worth off of relationships. And I think that's what is being put to an end. Like, I think that that's what is essentially being, nope, we're not doing that anymore. And the Queen of Cups gives me strong vibes right here. Is like, yeah, this is the reason that this is in your best interest, has to do with like, I don't want to be corny or cliche, but yeah, it's kind of like falling in love with yourself, and stepping into a period where you're definitely falling in love with yourself, and pulling out, like rediscovering yourself in such a way that relationships aren't controlling you anymore. And like it feels like it's going to end up being a period in time for you where you're rediscovering yourself and becoming so confident in yourself and falling in love so deeply with yourself that you are like, it's going to end up strengthening relationship. I was trying really hard to avoid saying the word strength because of the strength card. It just came out, but it's going to end up strengthening relationships for you in the long run, because like with this Sun card over here, this is exactly what it's saying. It's saying the situation you're in is that like you feel that discovering that somebody, like you feel that somebody hurting your sense of self is a missed opportunity, but it's not. It's clarity on what's for you and what's not for you. So somebody hurting your sense of self, you feeling like that's a missed opportunity and blaming yourself for it and thinking you should be able to work through that, that indicates that you need to go through a period of deep and intense self-love, rediscovering yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you find out that a relationship is impacting your sense of self, it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person's at fault, right? Like it could be your own insecurities that need to be worked through, or it could be them, or it's probably a combination. There's 3 sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth. But if you're letting somebody else impact your sense of self, and your response to that is to try to find ways in which you're wrong and you can improve, and beating yourself up and all this kind of stuff, then there is a need for you to separate yourself from relationships so that you can really fall in love with yourself and grow like a really strong connection with yourself. And in return, that will make your potential to have strong relationships better, because you won't be changing who you are based on what other people anticipate, and you will have more authentic connections and stronger connections. Like you'll be able to do that because you love yourself enough that there's no room for relationships that are impacting your sense of self. That is about all I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much, Pile 2. See you later. Hello, Pile 3. If you picked Shelter, this is your reading. Okay, so for the question of what is the situation, the Oracle card we have is Shelter. For how do you find this situation to be problematic, the Oracle card that was picked was the Buffalo, which is about authenticity. And for how it's actually in your best interests, you got the Village in reverse. And I almost wonder if you have seen another one of my videos, because this reminds me very much of a video that I did a couple months ago, a pile that I did a couple months ago that had to do with somebody who had like a strong sense of community, but was allowing, because they had such a strong sense of community, they were allowing the community that they were a part of to damage their sense of self. To, it was like unfair. Like it was like an uneven making yourself small in order to, in whatever your mind, frame the community. That was the other video, but this very much gives these vibes to me. Spiritual growth, accountability, and healing. You know, I haven't pulled this one very much, even though I love this freaking deck. So I'm going to look at this really quick. This is number 1. So I looked at it, and I'm not going to lie to you, it was very vague, which makes sense because it's card number 1. But the very first intuitive hit I got when looking at this card, what I see is a person, like, the card is somebody laying in flowers. But when I look at it, I see somebody who's like really stressed out because they're alone. Like, the situation is really peaceful, and then it's called shelter, right? The situation looks like it should be really peaceful, but this person looks like they're very upset because, like, I see loneliness, okay? So I don't know if you had a situation where you chose yourself over a community and you feel like it's problematic. And there's this whole huge conversation, I've mentioned this recently on another video, about individualism versus community. And people act like it's one or the other, it's one or the other, it's one or the other. It's not one or the other. You have to be fulfilled as an individual in order to be a part of a community. The community has to be giving something back to you as an individual in order to be a productive member of a community. Like, people can't just be members of communities constantly giving and getting nothing in return. That doesn't work. Both are very important. Like, the individual is important and the community is important. So if you're a part of a community, and like, if you're a part of a community that is in some way draining you too much, then adjustments need to be made, okay, by you and or by the community. So if this has to do with some sort of community issues, then hopefully we'll see more, but you know, that's the vibes it is giving me so far. If that resonates and you feel like you want to like and subscribe, go ahead and do that if you want. And if you have any comments, or you want to talk about your story, or you want to tell me I'm stupid or anything like that, I won't mind. Go ahead and leave it below. Okay, so let's get more information about the situation generally. Okay, hey, hi. King of Cups in reverse. Situation. Let's get more about the situation. Oh, wow. 5 of Wands in reverse. You do not want conflict. Let me get a clarifier for this King of Cups in reverse. Representing an insecure person. Baby came out quick. And we've got 2, 4, 5 of Cups in reverse. King of Cups clarified by 5 of Cups, both in reverse. Interesting. So to me, do we have more to I'll do this 6 more times. Okay, that was so quick. Yeah. The situation is that, there's like a balancing. Yeah, there's a balancing right now going on between, you're dealing with like a balancing of yourself and others, and identifying what belongs to you and what belongs to other people. You don't want conflict. Conflict makes you feel uncomfortable. You do understand the value of community. You understand the value of people being there for each other. You feel very lonely without community. That's the situation. And I'm going to leave it there because I have a feeling that what I want to say is already going to come out in the cards. Because I'll just like lightly go into it. What I want to say is that you, like I said, you're right now going through a period where you're trying to identify what belongs to you, like what's your responsibility, what's your right, what's your emotions, what's your boundaries, versus what belongs to the others in your life, the other important people in your life. And what's clouding your vision, I think, is how deeply you value other people. And it's almost as if you need other people, which you shouldn't really. And that's the other thing. You know, community is important, and like, we're social creatures, but you don't need other people. Nobody actually needs anybody else. That's a lie. There are vulnerable people who need other people. And there are systems in place to ensure that that happens. But if you are not somebody who physically needs to be taken care of, then nobody needs other people. Okay? And in order to create like a community that is mutually beneficial to everyone involved, you have to be strong within yourself. So let's look into why you find it problematic. And we have the buffalo symbolizing authenticity. Why do you find this situation problematic? Jesus. Okay. So we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of wands in reverse. Yeah, there's also a little bit of like, yeah, you find it problematic what you're going through because you might literally be getting shamed for choosing yourself. Like, I feel like you're getting shamed for choosing yourself, which is really messed up. If people would shame you for choosing yourself in a time of need for yourself and not hurting others, then which way? This came out sideways. It wants to be sideways. If people would shame you for choosing yourself, as long as it doesn't like hurt other people, then they're honestly like, that's a call for them. They need to deal with that themselves. That's not a call for you. People will try to convince you that you're beholden to their emotions, but you're not, and to their needs and to their desires, but you're not. Why does this situation feel problematic? Why does this situation feel problematic? The Fool. You don't want to be alone. Like, you don't want to not know what's coming next. You don't want to feel like you only rely on yourself for support. You don't want to, you don't want to deal with being essentially by yourself. You don't want to deal with not knowing what's going to happen next. But that is probably a necessary part of the process. Let's look into, before I keep talking, I want to look into, let's get some clarifiers on why this situation is actually in your best interest. We have the Village. Whoa, Breaker of Chains. People hate on the Devil, man, because it symbolizes being put in chains. I think the Devil is our collective energy that is essentially an excuse. It's the evil thing to project our fears and our limitations onto. So, hold on. Six of Pentacles. Yeah. Why is it in your best interest? Because they weren't giving you anything back, dude. You were in chains. You were chained. You were a part of I feel like you were a part of a bad community that was not actually out for your best interest. Hold on. I've got all these freaking cards. How am I supposed to choose? If you were here, I would go, like, if I was just talking to you, I'd be like, which one intuitively calls out to you? Because they all fell on the floor. But you're not here, so hopefully it's this one. Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, dude. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I'm going to sit here and say that you were more than likely manipulated into believing that you owed people more than you did. You were giving the most. You were giving the most. You were doing the most in the situation that you were in. Okay? So I feel like you knew that. Hopefully you already knew that, and this is just validation, because it seems like the situation is that you already distanced yourself from this more than likely whole community, but it could just be like a person. You distance yourself situation from the people, but like that's making you feel sad, insecure, and lonely, and like it's making you feel a lot of intense, difficult, painful emotions. But you distanced yourself, and you're wondering, like, what was this the right move, and that type of thing. Like, maybe you're not wondering that was this the right move, but you're really having a difficult time going through what's my responsibility and what's other people's responsibility. You find it problematic because, like, you're kind of teetering on back and forth. First of all, you don't like the negative attention that you're getting from choosing yourself, because this, again, the buffalo is about authenticity, and the last time I got a message for somebody like this, it was these two cards that came out as well. So I feel like you really might be the same person. I don't know. But like, you find it problematic because I think you do strongly value community, and you understand people should be working together, and like, you're confused about moving forward by yourself. That's why you find it problematic, because really you're confused and scared about moving forward by yourself. But what you need to understand with the Village in reverse, the Devil, the Six of Pentacles, and the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, is that you made the right choice because you were being drained and you were having unnecessary pressures and responsibilities put on you. Everything was being put on you. Like, all the responsibility was being put on you, and it shouldn't have all been put on you. So I hope this is validation. And this was like all kind of difficult and dark. So I'm gonna ask for some uplifting advice or inspiration for you as well. Can I get some uplifting advice or inspiration for pile 3 about the difficult decision they made, and the way that they're and before I keep going, I actually want to say this again. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think the most important part to know about this is really, like, in this debate that goes on collectively about what's more important, the community or the individual. It's crazy to me because it's not one versus the other. They have to go together. Both needs have to go together. You can't be any good to a community if the community is draining you of everything you're worth. The community is not more important than you. Okay? They have to find a way to coexist. Okay, that's all. And if somebody's trying to convince you, because there's a whole bunch of people that try to convince people that community, you should just put down all of your needs and be completely of service to others. That's not possible. It's not possible. You can't give from an empty cup. Okay? What's the positive advice? Sheesh, bro. Which way you want to be? Upside down, the bow. And the bridge, that feels cute. When I look at the bridge, it feels like, oh, and the two hands. The concept that's coming to me with the bridge. Okay, this advice also provided with some clarifiers. Yeah, I don't know how long you've been in this, separating yourself from others and working through, you know, because I feel like that's like a big collective lesson that we're going to be experiencing for quite a period of time. It's just like something that we're collectively working through as our freaking brains and our freaking consciousness evolves. Is this idea of like, what's your responsibility and what's mine, and like boundaries and stuff, because it can be very confusing, and a lot of people will manipulate you into thinking that you're responsible for things you aren't. I think you have been in this, and yeah, because this tells me, like, these two cards tell me you're a little bit scared that you're just going to keep attracting people who are untrustworthy. Like, you already know, and you're afraid you're going to keep attracting people who are untrustworthy. Okay, so yes, and then with like the being afraid of being alone and being afraid of negative opinions and all this other stuff, this is good advice, because this is essentially saying, buck up, you can protect yourself in the reverse, because this is about being able to protect yourself. In the reverse, the way I'm taking it as hopeful advice is like, you're acting like you can't protect yourself, but you can. You know how to protect yourself now. You have learned the lesson. You now know how to protect yourself. Okay? And then this talks about moving on to a new phase. And that's what I was seeing, especially with the hands like this. It talks about like connecting, or being open to connection and being open to new experiences and moving on to a new phase. So these two together tells me the hopeful advice is that like you either are learning or have learned how to differentiate what a healthy like boundaries is, and like what healthy give and take is. This right here, very much about give and take, what is healthy and what is not healthy. And you are more than likely manipulated into believing that you owe people more and into giving more than you receive. But you are either in the process of learning what you owe people and what healthy give and take is and healthy boundaries are, or you have already learned, and Spirit is saying the hopeful advice for you is like, you can protect yourself, which means that you can remain open to new connection, and you can remain open to like moving on to a place where you can have the connection you want and the community you want and everything you want, because you have learned essentially how to do it in a healthy, balanced way. And that is such an important lesson, because that is very like, I feel like if this is resonating for you, you should really share your experiences, because this is such a necessary lesson collectively, especially as I believe we're going into a period of time with all of this uncertainty in the world and everything like that, like where people will be really susceptible to like manipulation tactics, cult-like behavior, etc., etc. Like, I think we're going into a time period where people are going to potentially be very susceptible to unequal treatment and being manipulated. And being like literally, I kind of see the opportunity for many cults to arise. And the reason that people are so susceptible to that is because we don't know or talk about enough. Like, I see people here and there, and their message just does not get out. Like, I see people talking about cult behavior and how people end up in cults, but their message does not get out as much as it should. And like, it's not common knowledge what cult behavior is and how people get, and I'm not saying that you were in a cult, but I'm saying that like behavior where people manipulate people into giving more, into thinking they're responsible for more than they are, where they're keeping people literally like limited in their mindset and disempowering people and convincing them that that is the way, that is something that people are going to be really susceptible to, because they're looking for meaning and community and purpose, and it is not common knowledge on how to discern like what healthy boundaries and healthy give and take and things like that are. That's not common knowledge. So like, I feel like if this is something that resonates for you, first of all, Spirit's hopeful advice to you is that you are learning, or have learned, probably a mix of both, how to protect yourself, and like, you are going to a new place where you can remain open to connection because you know how to protect yourself now. And what I'm saying to you is, please, for the love of God, in this time period, if this is resonating, share what you've learned. Please, people need it. Okay, that's all. Thank you. I hope this helped in some way. See you later, pile 3.